Hello, Alden Aldernate here. We've got a fantastic interview lined up for you today with the amazing Alfred Zerfus. Alfred is a retired public health doctor, and we're going to chat today about how to bring joy to loved ones through song. Let's sing with Fred. Hello, Alfred. Welcome all the way from Melbourne.
Yeah, hi. How are you? Good. Nice meeting again,
Excellent.
Owen.
Yeah, great to see you again. Great to see
You're
you. We
all
met many.
win. No
Yes,
lose,
we're all.
all win.
Yes, we're all in today.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. We actually met years ago in Thailand, and you joined our mass media mastery program back then, and we've stayed friends ever since. It's been wonderful. You're such an inspiring guy, Alfred. At 84
Lovely.
years of age, you're a trooper. You just get up to so much, and I just love chatting with you. You always bring joy to me. So thank you for
Thank you.
that. And for those who don't know you, would you be able to just share a little bit about your background? I know there's probably so much we can cover with your background, but a bit of your background and how you got into being a public health doctor.
Through my mother, she was a very strong influence on my life, and I'm writing. I'm writing a book about her. I'm writing a book about my cousin. I'm writing ebooks about everyone, actually, but and videos. But she came from Poland before
Yeah.
the war. She used to design costumes for the Strauss operettas in Vienna. And at 16, she worked for, earned money for a family, married a count who was a playboy. And she thought that that wasn't a very good thing because he was spending all her money. So she came to Australia and married another 3 times. And the first person was my father. And he was a bit of an anti-Semite, which is not a very good marriage in a way.
Right.
And I was caught in the middle.
Right.
And I took it very seriously, of course, because my mother was very dominating. She was an amazing person. She had all these. She built the first house in Melbourne that had a round front. This was in the 30s in Elwood. And she used to socialize, be a socialite. She started a factory which had millinery. She was amazing with her hands. She had a booming voice. I mean, the factory was about, I don't know, about 50 meters long, and she talked at one end of the factory, you could hear at the other end. But she was an amazing person. So basically, I was influenced by her a huge amount. But my father needed me more in a way, so I was caught between the two. So I think that formed me to listen to two sides. I had to be in the middle, listening to two sides. And basically, it got me into the framework of looking at other people's points of view and trying to see myself within other people and outside of myself. And so, anyway, she wanted me to find the cure for cancer. Well, I became a doctor anyway, although I didn't figure I could do that. But I was drawn overseas a lot, and Gandhi was a huge influence. And I think when you look through your life, you have periods of time when you have mentors, people you follow, and they're a strong influence. And for my mother, actually, it was my first wife, who we went to India together in the early 60s. I worked in a mission hospital. On the way, I took a boat over to India, and I used to sing in the empty swimming pool at night. Just so well, they
Wow.
didn't fill up the pool while I was singing, but it was amazing reverberations that I got. There was no audience, it was just me. So I popped into to Malaysia, asked the assistant director of health services for some work because I was on my way, I was working. And he said, "Are you a surgeon?" And I said, "No." And he said, "It's a pity. We only have 12 in the country." But
Oh,
that was a long time ago. Now they're amazing what they're doing. So anyway, I hopped on a motorbike in Tamil Nadu in Madras. It was a Royal Enfield, and it was in the monsoons. So I used to wear sort of one of these old army caps and shorts and flip-flops. because it was raining all the time. So I used to go through the showers, and when it stopped raining, I just changed into some clothes. So I went through the whole of South India for 3 weeks on the motorbike looking for work. And I finished up working in a mission hospital in Mysore, which was ruled by that whole state. Karnataka was ruled by the Maharaja. And I got friends of the Maharaja's tutor of the kids. So we used to go horse riding on the hill. We used to be invited to Dasra. So I eventually bought the Museum of South India, actually, which was 6 miles out in Srangapatna, which was the last place the Tipu Sultan defied the British before he was defeated. So that was the bungalow of Scott, the artillery captain, that he built for him. And it's still there to this day. And she's still living there. So, I mean, history continues. And she's 95, and there's still family in India. And my grandkids from India are here. So I've got one family in India where I started, and I worked in leprosy for 3 years. I worked in mission hospitals. Then I went to the UK to get my higher degrees, and finished up in Biafra in the late 60s, where I met my second wife. She was a nurse, and we worked together, and we're still married. And she's in the States, and I'm here. It's not a very good state of affairs, I'm afraid, but I couldn't keep living in the States, and she was settled with the 2 kids. But they're grown up now, and we're very friendly. We see each other, talk with. In fact, we play Scrabble. I play Scrabble online with my daughter. I keep beating her. But one day we played Scrabble with my aunt, and we played one game, and I got this kicking on the table. I said, Dad, you got to let her win. So one of the few times I let someone else win in a game. But anyway, with India, it's an amazing country, and there's been amazing changes in the country. I mean, when I was there, typical, you might have one person coming for a meeting early in the morning and just sitting there the whole day before someone could see him. This was the director of one of the companies I was with. Anyway, there it was. So after the war, we had this amazing program where we worked with social welfare, rehabilitating kids, and there were 5,000 displaced kids in the country who worked with social welfare. We got all but 6 back to their homes. And it was the extended family. And what we have to learn is this whole business about caring, extended family, responsibility to your elders. And this is so important with the COVID. And communicating. And the beauty about communicating with song is that most songs have love in them, have gratitude. Most songs of connecting, at least. And that's what I think should be done. And I think we should go forward with our own ancestors, First Nations people who still sing with song, Africans, West Indians, and other people. And I think singing with song is so important. It's not the singing, of course. It's the attitude and the feeling and the emotion and the caring and being. Because if you can't be with people physically, you can still be with them emotionally, and you can still respond. And the whole thing about singing is the interaction with someone and the empathy and the being with them and feeling them. So it's not just the singing, it's the process. And I love singing. I'm pretty awful at singing, but Tony Robbins also is awful at singing, so I don't mind.
And if we're all out of tune, no one will notice.
But I think people respond to passion,
Yes.
and they respond to emotion as much. And that's where scientists have to learn, and professional people have to learn to communicate better in that way as well. So that's my early life. Well, just to finish off quickly, that was in the 60s, late 60s. Then I went to Bangladesh during the war. And I still go to Bangladesh. There's a big agency there I work with traditional birth attendants. There are 80,000 traditional birth attendants in Bangladesh, and they're not being fully trained apart from this agency and a few other agencies. And they're the ones that are most responsible for childbirth in villages. And what's happened is that in their wisdom, some international agencies have organized another cadre of younger women to be trained, but they're not experienced. But their job is to refer people to the hospital and the centers, where they often get a cesarean section. So basically, it's going back to the old ways, which, I mean, had been formulated over hundreds of years. Okay? So they must have known something about how to deal with people. And admittedly, they do need to be trained for at-risk women who are giving childbirth, but they shouldn't. They should. They're still amazing for normal deliveries, and they're trusted in the village and so forth. So basically, that's a very important area. And the thing about maternal mortality is it's the biggest difference between wealthy countries and poorer countries. In wealthy countries, you just get a handful of women dying in childbirth. But in some of the poorer countries, you might get, that's per 100,000 births. But in poorer countries, it can be as much as 500, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times as much. So that's a huge, and I'm planning, I did some graphics actually, which using Google graphics. And the point about, I did some training in graphics in UNICEF, where I worked for 15 years, manuals on graphics and presentation and stuff. But the important thing is that planners don't need to know rates. Rates don't mean anything to planners. It's numbers that count, because they need to know how many people have to be helped. How much do we need, in what way, for how many people? Whereas professionals deal with rates because you standardize. Now, I'm not saying anything against rates, because they're very useful to standardize one lot with another, particularly when populations differ. But you have to remember that numbers are important for planners. And I've worked with planners. I've done surveys with planners. I worked in Pakistan for UNICEF. I was the UNICEF rep in Pakistan. And I worked on surveys there starting in the late 80s. We did the first national survey for 20 years to show that nutrition hadn't improved very much in kids, despite the economics improved. And one of the important factors was care, food, health, and care, the three ones. But care is very important. So that's how it was presented to the government. And I introduced them to how to work with computers at that time. That was in the late 80s at that institute. And we did further surveys in the year 2000. I was working in the regional office in UNICEF in Jordan. We were reviewing education throughout the whole of the Middle East, and also these multiple indicator surveys. I've been involved in a number of these as well, helping direct them. These are social health nutritional indicators that have been standardized around the world, particularly for young kids and women. So when I was in Amman, and I'd worked in Iraq for 3 years before that as UNICEF nutrition representative, and we monitored the nutritional status of kids, and also started. Anyway, I'm going all around the place. I hope you don't mind.
That's okay. You've got a very colourful life, Alfred. I love it. So many places you visited.
Well, yeah, I'll just finish off, and then maybe you can ask another question, because basically I want to mention that in my book, I'm doing an ebook, and it's going to be different than all sorts of books. It'll be a series of blogs, videos, whatever, and messages. And the message in Iraq, and this is going to be presented too, was that we had this program of community childcare centers, which developed over weeks. This was a time when Saddam, actually, I worked with Saddam's daughter and the pediatrician for Iraq as well. And basically he couldn't control all the governorates, the 18 governorates. So there was a little bit of devolution of power to the governorates. So we had this program of education, of monitoring kids' nutrition and health, and some with some education and some supplementary food distribution, because malnutrition was rife over there at the time during the sanctions. And the important thing was it was done by the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, top down, but connected, integrate all the way from top down to get there. And UNICEF, being the agency working with the government, was working on the side. But at the local area, you had a headmaster, you had the chief mullah. Religious people are terribly important in getting behavior sorted out. Thailand's an excellent example of that through Buddhism and elsewhere, the higher power. Anyway, we were all integrated together, and we set up about 3,000 centres around the country in a matter of weeks. Wow. And we called them triple C's. And I was known as the singing doctor, and I used to go, C, 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 I'm a little triple C, 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 won't you care for me? I used to sing it, and people used to laugh.
I love it.
Anyway, I was invited to work in Pakistan because the head of the regional office in UNICEF came from the northwest frontier of Pakistan. And he said, look here, can you come and help us do a survey? And in fact, the first day of the survey was on 9/11, which was extraordinary, that first day of survey in 2001. Anyway, we worked there for 3 years with the planners. And we finished up doing 99 districts separately for the whole of the country. Tens of thousands of workers and so forth. And now they didn't ask me back because they knew how to do it afterwards, which was probably the best plan. So anyway, that's my stuff overseas. There are a few other things that happened as well. And I came back to Australia about 12 years ago now.
Amazing.
And that's my new life back in Australia.
Amazing. And since I've known you, you're constantly traveling, even back in Australia, even though that's home base. We met in Thailand, you're traveling around Australia often, attending different courses. And, I love the fact you're 84 and you're constantly out to learn more and to be the best version of you can be and taking on new challenges. I think it's just absolutely wonderful. And I must say, singing is a universal language, just like smiling is, right? It's something that, whether you understand the words in the song, everyone can relate to music. Everyone feels music. And it's wonderful. We've got a fellow doctor here, Dr. Mia Janju is coming here from Canada, actually. We did some PR work together, and we actually put a press release out with Dr. Mia Janju, and the headline was, "Fear of COVID is making people sick." And we put out a whole lot of great tips on how people can boost their immune system during COVID. And Dr. Mia says, wow, you two are glowing. Thanks for the fab stories. Alfred, bless you guys. Well, bless you too, Dr. Mia. We need more great people like you out there. And Alfred, I must say, you constantly bring joy, as Dr. Mia does. He's also an awesome person out in the community, making a huge difference. Mamma Mia. So tell us more about, this Let's Sing with Fred. What is this all about, the Let's Sing with Fred?
Okay. It happened really because I have this amazing mentor in Sydney, whom I met in the Blue Mountains. We attended some retreat there. And when we left and came back to Sydney, we stopped in a pub for a drink. She gave me a lift back. And in a matter of minutes, she got me doing stuff I'd never done before. And it was just a few techniques in coaching, but it really was amazing. She got me to look at myself from outside and see where I was and where I was going. And then we continued. And the other amazing thing was she got my core values. She said, why don't you find out your core values? So if you Google core values, you'll see a number of ways of doing it. I did one particular group. And they give you the 20 major core values. And my three major ones was humor, innovation, and curiosity. So I realized that, if you understand yourself better, your inner self, then you can work on it. And I figured that I'd always wanted to do something initially, and I realized that I didn't actually have to finish it. So long as I got things started, I was happy. And it's a lot of wasted time trying to finish something if you don't need to finish it. The second thing is I'm blessed because I'm in my super, so I'm not lacking funds. What I'm lacking is resources. So basically, I realized that it was fun to sing, and I started getting a habit of singing to people. If their name was Maria, I'd say, Maria, Maria. I'd sing a song about Maria or where they came from, Carolina. Nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina, just to connect with people. But I used to ask permission, do you mind if I sing a song about where you live? And they said, okay. So it's an entry point, and it makes me feel better and it makes them feel better. And the other thing is that it makes people smile a bit more, particularly if they respond to my smiles. And they may be complete strangers. And it makes me feel good. I think it boosts up my oxytocin. So I think other people's oxytocin should be boosted up, but not the performer, the person on the other end. And that's why I started off doing songs about the coronavirus because I thought that was important, reminding people. But then I attended the Tony Robbins EUPW, The Power Within, Uplift the Power Within or something. Anyway.
Unleash the Power.
Unleash the Power Within.
Unleash the Power Within. Yeah, I did that last year. I did that in Sydney. Were you in Sydney? Were you in Sydney last year?
No, this is all online, actually. Yeah. This is all online.
Okay.
So I'm doing it all online. Good. I'm still continuing it. And so basically, the important thing about that is if you ever go that or organize some of the breakout rooms when you're meeting individual people and connecting, they're very important because you bounce things off. Anyway, the important thing they said is you've got to find a niche. You've got to find the ideal client. And I couldn't work out the ideal client. And maybe I said, well, let's teach people how to sing songs about certain things and so forth. But then it came across that my doctor friend, his daughter, he was in hospital. This was in Melbourne. And his daughter, he couldn't see him, and he wasn't well at all. So she wrote an article in the local paper, and I found out about this, and I recognized she was so frustrated she couldn't meet her loved ones at the time. And so I figured, why don't, being an oldie, and particularly older people are more prone to get the virus, but even then, even if they're in a care home, you can't see them all the time. And I say, what's a good way of communicating? And they say, why don't we communicate with song? So the general idea now, I've had one Zoom, but the general idea is to have more Zooms of people working on their songs. It's not to teach them how to sing. It's how to work on their own songs and their loved ones, and their loved ones particularly. So what they have to do is do a bit of research and try bits and pieces, and then maybe tweak a tune to make it a bit more personal, and get into the habit of singing. And once we've got enough people, this will probably take a year or two, but once we've got enough people, we'll have a database of all these songs that people can perform if they like, and we'll start something like Songbook. And it'll be very strict because you'll only be able to sing or play music, and they have to be of gratitude, of love, of hope, etc. They can't be anything else, and that's all they can be. And you can sing online if you like, and it can be connected. But my feeling is, why don't we have a bit more? Life is nothing without music. It makes the world go around, all that stuff. And people can be themselves, and they can fool around. They don't have to be opera stars. They don't have to be performers. They can show their feelings. And the important thing is to make people smile a bit and feel a bit more comfortable. That's
Yeah,
the general idea.
yeah, brilliant. I absolutely love that, Alfred. And it's interesting. I was at a 1 week retreat in the Sunshine Coast hinterland recently, and the lady running the retreat, she's a fantastic singer and guitarist. And I play ukulele sometimes. Right, I've actually got about 10 songs that I play on the ukulele, and I
Ukulele girl.
yeah, yeah. And I often say to people, oh, I sing really badly, right? I tend to put myself down with the singing. And the lady that was running the retreat, she said, Aldwin, the birds can sing, you can sing. She said the main thing is to just let yourself go and just because that's the thing, is that often when people think they're not good singers, they and it might be out of tune or whatever, who cares? The main thing is just enjoy the singing. It's like karaoke. Karaoke is so popular because people love to sing. They love to come
That's
together
right.
and sing. So whether it's out of tune or not out of tune, the fact is enjoy it, get in the moment with the singing and just let go. Just totally let go and get into it without worrying about what other people are going to think of your singing. Right. And I think that's a really big point, because often we do put ourselves down. So I've now changed my story. So now I know the birds can sing, I can sing. So I'm no longer a bad singer. I have a go, I sing, and I play the ukulele, and I love it.
No, I
So,
think that's right. You're perfectly right. And it's not the song, it's the connection, it's the passion that goes with it, it's the emotion,
yes,
it's the response. And I know when I get that connection because I see a person responding. And now and then I do put my foot in a little bit, and I'll just stop straight away. But basically, it's a way of making. And if you can make a few people smile every day, you've got somewhere.
mm,
And
mm.
then the other big thing that my mentor, I call her my tormentor, but in a nice way. um, she she has a very good helpful saying. At the end of the day, you think about your day and think about your wins. They could be small wins, probably a few small wins here and there, because that's the important thing to review. And that'll prepare you for the next day when you put your intentions down and consider what you're going to do from there. Because you don't, you whatever you do can be small. You don't have to make huge changes necessarily. A series of small changes that are consistent are so important. And it's the
Yes,
changes you make with other people within yourself.
yes,
And when you're talking to someone, the most important word is you, not me.
yes,
So I've been
yes,
told
yes.
by our mentors. But frankly, this is just starting. I'm a bit scared at the moment. I haven't. I've sidetracked to something, to a few other things at the moment, but I'm definitely back on track. And I find I find the beauty of Zoom. I find the beauty of online connections changes uh, the whole aura of that connection. And the difference is that the people in the Zoom, the clients in the Zoom, the people you're directing, have a chance to interact not only with the Zoomer, but within themselves. And that's
Mm,
why I think these breakout rooms are so important. I think giving people the opportunity to communicate. And if in a
mm,
classroom you don't get that, you get a teacher and the
yes,
students. And the whole area of coaching, I think the whole strength of coaching is to get the people interacting among themselves and within themselves, because coaching is really a mindset, and they have to feel confident among themselves. And this whole area of classroom teaching, which is going hopefully, but this whole area that was purely for the purpose of organizing people to fit into set jobs and set functions. It's an organizational conformist approach that what is it, Ken Robinson talks about. Hopefully, it will go, and I think this all this online stuff is going to be very helpful, because what you'll get
mm,
just as you get on the internet, you get sharing from one person to the next. Sharing the process is also important. It's not the person that's important, it's the process. And I think
Yes.
people will learn over time about this process that they can do. And I've been told the definition of an expert is someone who knows a bit more about something than someone else.
Yes, that's right. If you know 10% more than someone else, you
That's
can
right.
pitch it.
You can give something. You can give something. Whatever you, and
Yes,
every person can give. Every person is in a position to serve. And so I've taken my
absolutely.
name, Zerfas, to Zerfas.
Service.
Zerface.
There's no greater purpose than being of service, they say.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
back to your point before, there's a great saying that says, inch by inch, everything's a cinch. And it's important to remember too that anyone who's good at anything was crap at it once, right?
Of
So the
course,
thing
yeah.
is,
And
yeah,
failure's the best incentive, basically. Failure happens to the most successful people,
yes. And
you know?
failing doesn't mean you're a failure. Failing doesn't mean you're a failure. So the thing is that if you look at a toddler, how many times do they fall over before they
Well,
just
that's how
keep
they
getting up?
learn.
That's
That's
right.
you lose the battle,
Yeah.
win the war.
Exactly. They fall over
Yeah,
1,000 times before they actually start walking. But, this was all of us at one point, is that we'd struggle to get up and walk, and then we'd fall over and get up and
that's
fall over.
right.
And that's like the roller coaster of life, I call it, that we're going to have our lows, we're going to have our highs, we're going to feel like we're going round and round circles sometimes. Sometimes we're going to feel like we're going backwards on that roller coaster ride of life, right? Sometimes
Right.
you need to slow down to speed up in life. So I just
Oh, we
think,
have cycles, and we have internal cycles within ourselves.
yeah,
I mean, some days you
yes.
feel terrific, other days you don't. So you have to balance
Yes,
that. You have external cycles that affect you.
yes, like
So
the moon phases. The
my
moon
whole
affects, us.
my whole doctoral thesis was on the concept of variation because I had this thing about statistics. I thought that
Mm.
people should be masters of statistics, not servants. And
Ah,
I worked on the concept of variation. In fact, the way the standardization exercises we did for surveys was taken up by the UN as well as ways of evaluating people's performances. So
mm,
basically, we all vary. And if you ask someone something one day,
yeah,
a week later, it could be different. And
yeah,
we're all changing. We're all changing. And the resistance, um, we have to accept change because change happens.
absolutely. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of change in your 84 years, Alfred. I'm
Even small
sure
change.
you, yeah,
Even
yeah, yeah.
penny.
Even small chat, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
like even just the media world, right? I've been in the media 36 years, and just in the last 16 years since social media came about. I mean, Facebook only came about in 2004. 16 years we've had social media, and now we've got 3.8 billion people on the planet out of the 7.8 billion that are active social media users now. That's massive in just the last 16 years. So, technology has gone ahead in leaps and bounds. So what are some other big changes you've noticed, Alfred, in your
Well,
84
well,
years on the planet?
there's an amazing person called Tiffany Schlein, and she's done a film called Connected. And the point about the film is we're connecting hugely, but we're not connected. We're
Mm,
just going through the
yes.
process, unfortunately, and so forth. Anyway, sorry, I'll get back to your question. What was it?
Yes. So the question was, what sort of changes, what has been some big changes you've seen in your 84 years on the planet?
Oh, well. um, well, the change of India, India's woken up. There's no doubt about that.
Uh-huh.
And there's some movement. Bangladesh, there's been a huge change in their social indicators. They've done amazing stuff. Southeast Asia, there have been changes. So globally, Africa will change. There's no doubt about it. In the next 50 years, there'll be a major power as the countries of Africa. So I see progression and development, but I'm seeing the military and the other side of it that is still very scary. And
Mm.
I think the important thing is that there should be a grassroots control of everything. If there's too much top down, the people at the local level are disconnected, and they lose their say, unfortunately. Uh, and,
Yes.
and that's what I worry about.
Yeah, I agree. And I think during COVID, a lot of people are sort of waking up to that maybe there's some alternative views out there than we're hearing in the mainstream media about what's really going on. And, I think that this is more about control than it is about health personally, from what I've researched. And I don't want to really go down the rabbit hole right now, but I do encourage people to question everything that they're hearing, because you can hear the negative news and you can think the whole world is like that, or you can focus on the positive things that are happening, which is part of what I started with the Global Good News Challenge, was to help inspire more good news at this time. And I think
Yeah.
if you're aware, if you question things, if you do some more research, which thankfully we have social media and we have alternative media channels now where people can do their own research into things and make up your own mind so you can make informed choices about how we're going to move forward. Because people are losing trust in the government. They're losing
Right.
trust, and they're losing trust also in each other as well, often. And there's all sorts of animosity that's been happening online with people with different opinions. The thing is, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Please be kind to others. You don't need to be nasty to get your point across. Please be kind. Come from a loving space. I always say there's two places we come from: love or fear. Choose
That's
love.
right.
I choose love. And when you're singing, when you're in music, when you're in creative expression, it's a beautiful expression of love.
Right. Well, we have to be careful about our reptilian brain, which is there
Yes.
to protect us. And that's where fear
Yes.
becomes the strongest factor. And I think if you're telling stories, if you tell local stories, that's why this is why the Zooms and the social media is so important, because people can tell stories with each other about
Mm.
things and learn from each other. And I think we need a lot more grassroots control, a lot more grassroots use of information, a lot more empowerment. It's no
Yes.
point getting data and all that stuff being spoken from above and getting confused. You need a proper type of education, proper type of empowerment for people. I'll give you one example. I
Sure.
invented a measuring tape which had an insertion in it, so you could read the figures and control the pressure around the arm, and it measures the muscle and fat in the upper arm, and it's used for nutrition, check nutrition in kids under 5, and it's standard equipment in emergencies now with UNICEF. And the beauty about it was, and my mentor, a guy called Dick Jolliffe, who was the head of the public health in UCLA at the time when we worked together, was empowering. It was a local piece of equipment that you could screen people with. And you could assess very quickly their nutrition, because what happens is the arm circumference is constant between the ages of 6 months and 5 years, because the fat, there's more fat, and then it changes to muscle. So the actual circumference remains more or less. So you don't need to know age. So you can actually measure, and you can color code it or read it off.
Mm.
And you see these in the Save the Children advertisements and elsewhere. And the point is, they're starting to get local village workers to measure kids' arm circumference. So in other words, and they'll probably get mothers to measure their own kids. And what I want to do is empower families to have their own tape, so they can use that like they had a scale, so they can assess their kids. And the other part of the smartphones is, or even regular phones, is texting, reminding people online. They don't necessarily have to go to the health center all the time and so forth. So there'll be more a local control of things. And I think that's so important for the future. And with control, you'll have information and you'll have sharing. And with that, you'll get a certain amount of empowerment. Now, how you can get that to move politically is in the form of movements. And you've got this starting up this underswell of movements, Black Lives Matter, women, women's movements and other movements. And that's where that whole swell of information and connection can facilitate movements. You don't have to go down the street anymore necessarily. You can reinforce that, but what you can get through the internet is a huge swell of movement, of commonality among feelings and people, and getting a little bit more understanding. And that's where proper information and storytelling, trustworthy storytelling, is so important. And I think that's the important thing for the future.
Yes, and we can't control what other people do, right? We can only control how we respond. So there's no point stressing yourself about the state of the world right now or all the dramas that are happening out there. There's no point stressing about any of that stuff. You just need to do your own research and protect yourself as well as you can, and be informed. Knowledge is power. Be informed, get informed. Do your own research, right? And this is the thing. And it's unfortunate that there's a lot of mental health issues out there. And something I'm a big stand for is for more good news in the world and for truth in the world. And part of that truth is actually people expressing their own truth as well. And with more good news, we can lift the energy out there. We can decrease depression, anxiety, and suicide rates. Now, I've had depression over the years, Alfred. I know what it's like when you go into a dark hole and you just don't feel like going on. I know what that feeling's like. And I've had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45. And the stats are 1 million people a year worldwide take their own lives. And now with COVID and all this drama going on at the moment, and, there's actually some documentaries called Plandemic. There's 2 that have been banned off YouTube, and very interesting documentaries, I must say. Plandemic, check it out. They're on BitChute, which is an alternate to YouTube. I recommend people see Plandemic. So with what's going on now, unfortunately, some people are really letting it get to them. And people are suiciding, people are drinking more, people are getting depressed. So it's very important to be conscious that you can control how you're responding in any moment. And there's a lot you can do even in lockdown. You can sing in lockdown. You can do meditation. You can do yoga. You can, there's so much we can do. We can hop on Zoom calls and connect that way. People need connection. So it's very interesting times we're in at the moment, Alfred, I must say. And so just touching on that point, what are some tips that you would give people to help right now with mental health?
Listen to find out. Be empathetic. Listen. Support. Don't criticize. Don't judge. And often this is best done through strangers, not people you know. Because, but my point is, you have to try and put yourself in the other person's shoes. What's this person feeling? Okay. Just be there. Just be there for that person and show that person, look, I'm here for you. I'm not judging you at all. Yes. I don't understand what's going on with you. I'll accept whatever you say to me. I'll try and help you as best I can. Let me know if I'm treading on your toes, because I'm concerned about you. And I care for you, and I love you.
Yes.
And that sort of support, without telling people what to do, because telling them what to do puts them in a fix. So no judgment at all, no criticism. Just understand what people are going through and listen and try and feel it, and say, look, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? What do you want? What do you need? What can I do? What can someone else do? But it's more, I think it's more support and listening rather than directing. But certainly no judgment. And then there are areas where they can get relief. They can call for professional relief and so forth. But they don't want to do that because they're a bit embarrassed and so forth. So you have to take away that embarrassment. And you can get them to phone in and get a song. Who knows in the future?
Yes.
Why don't you make a phone call? Forget about what's going on. There's a friendly person the other end, and maybe you can sing with them or whatever. Do what you like with them. Uh,
Yes.
have a fun
Yes.
conversation, because I think you have to break that spell, and
Yes.
it's often cyclical. There are times when they're in a rut, and there are times they're a bit better. So it's a matter of timing as well. But I think the
Mm.
media has a huge amount to do with this, and we've got to resurrect the media, because the media plays on fear, on all the nasty things that are happening around the world. That's what they play on, because that's how they get their advertising. So it's this
Mm.
whole thing about money, advertising, fear campaigns, and so forth. So we need
Yes.
we need to get a better understanding of this, and the political connection is just extraordinary. So I think the media,
Yes.
and that's why Gore was going to have a grassroots media system going on. I don't know what happened to that, but there is a media that can be formed, and a lot of these people with a lot of hits and a lot of power have an obligation, I think, to use their connection to um, to emphasize the good things, uh, the hopeful things, the happy things, the non-judgmental things, not necessarily just the small things that are happening from day to day, and particularly
Mm.
against the amount within the young. That 15 to 25-year-old group are very much affected by life changes, by coming out into the open, and not being experienced enough, and so forth. So, I mean, they
Yes.
have to be listened to, and they have to organize themselves as well. They have to let them learn from their own mistakes as a group,
Yes. Absolutely. There's
and
so
give
much I
them a
want to say.
voice.
Yes, give them a voice. So much I want to say on this. Firstly, hurt people hurt people. So if
That's
someone's
right.
being nasty to you, don't take it personally. It's just their own stuff coming up. Okay. The other thing is coming from love again. There's the Honoponopono, the great, Honoponopono. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the whole the four statements that go with Honoponopono, which is I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. It's
That's
very,
right.
very powerful to say that to yourself and to others, right? To share that love is really, really important. And, there is all sorts of alternative media out there. As I mentioned, BitChute, BITCHUTE. Check that one out. Also, library.tv, LBRY.tv. There's a lot of alternative news channels now because Facebook fact checkers and YouTube have been censoring information. I actually did an interview with someone about 5G and it got taken down off YouTube. Now, I kind of wonder why that is the case. Why are things being taken down from certain media channels if there's nothing for people to worry about around having freedom of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, the fact is that lots and lots of alternative viewpoints have been taken down off YouTube. Now, I interviewed David Icke. He's a New Age conspiracy,
Sure. Right.
conspiracist from the UK,
I
and
like
he's a
Ike.
former David Icke, BBC journalist. He was doing a worldwide wake-up tour of Australia. Well, the Australian government banned him from coming into Australia. He had 1 million followers on YouTube. They took his YouTube channel down. So the powers that be don't want people to have this alternative information, and it's very important that we take responsibility and actually do our own research on the channels that do support alternative news and not buy into the fear, because the powers that be, I believe, want to divide and rule. They want to conquer. They want to divide literally 1.5 meters. Keep your distance, gag yourself with a mask. Like, it's just insane what's happening at the moment. It's kind of like watching a movie. I feel like I'm in the Divergent or something, in some kind of
Right.
movie, and there's lots of sources online that say this whole thing was predicted 10 years ago. Do your own research again, but very interesting times. So while we can't control certain things that are happening out there, we can control what we do. We can control whether we're going to come into gratitude on a day-to-day basis or whether we're going to come from fear. And part of the global good news News Challenge, which I started in June this year, right in the height of COVID, was to inspire people to actually do something to make a difference themselves. Because when you get into gratitude, not just write down your gratitude or think about what you're grateful for, but when you speak out what you're grateful for, as happens in the Global Good News Challenge, which if you want to find details, just go to the Facebook page, Global Good News Challenge, pinned to the top of the page is all the details. But basically, people do Facebook Lives every day. We've got an October one now, different ones every month. October 1 up until October 10, people can start a Facebook Live challenge every day for 10 days. And they just share their name, what they do, 3 things they're grateful for, and a piece of good news. That's it, right? And it's amazing how most people do it in 3 minutes. It just lifts your energy and lifts the energy of those around you. And imagine if we have, now my goal is to have 1,000 people doing this by the 8th of the 8th next year, by Good News Day. Imagine if we have everyone putting out good news challenges and sharing their good news. Imagine how that's going to lift people's energy. It's very, very powerful.
That's great.
Very powerful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Owen, you are an amazing person. What you're doing is fantastic. And I appreciate it. And there's a lot of love in you, a lot of giving, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Alfred. So in line with that, what are you grateful for today?
The ability to say a few things. And I've never seen that underscoring going on. Let's sing with Fred. That's good.
I just added that.
Yeah. And it's nice to touch base with you again, after 3 or 4 years and connecting with each other and seeing where you've gone. I think what you've done is absolutely amazing. And the beauty of you is the sharing of you. And I think that's the beauty of you, the sharing. And you put yourself out in the front and you're yourself. And I think if people did that and be themselves and not be influenced by all this nasty stuff and others and so forth, be your true selves and share yourself. And I think that's amazing. Well done, my dear. Well done. From an oldie.
Oh, that's just moved me. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. Very kind words. And
the other thing is, I did a movie, Conversations with Mother, about being able to talk with my mother after she died, and we settled some of the issues actually, because she was still around, and I see dying as a process, not an event, and I'm starting to die, not tomorrow, so I don't mind that because I'm at the 17th hole on the golf course. There's only one hole to go, but there's a 19th hole of the pub. So there's still a chance of continuing. But what I regretted, actually, and I'll just mention that I didn't show my gratitude to her enough when she was alive. And that's the major thing I regret. So the important thing is show gratitude. I mean, when you just feel deep down and see the gracious parts of people, and they're there, and it's a positive communication, because there are different types of communication, and I think showing people gratitude, respect, and actually showing that you recognize them, you recognize the real them. And it's shining to you. Tinkle what's within, because it's there. It just has to come out and be there. And that's what you're doing. And I think that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. Well, I'm very grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our friendship. I've stayed with you in Melbourne and, we've experienced a whole lot of different things together, and it's just been so fantastic reconnecting with you recently. Actually, during COVID, we've reconnected because I've taken all my events online. So we've been able to connect a lot more now than ever before, which is something I'm really grateful for, is, the opportunities that have come out of COVID. As much as there's been dramas, there's been absolute amazing opportunities. Some people's businesses are booming. My business has been booming since COVID. There's a lot of opportunities in down times. It's all about perspective and how you choose to look at things. And I'm really grateful for the opportunities that have come out of COVID, the reconnections that have been happening. I'm so grateful for my health. Just by being born, Alfred, we are 1 in a billion just by being born. We've beaten about a billion other.
Compared with other people around the world, we're really very lucky. We are blessed.
So lucky. We are
and we should
blessed.
make the most of it. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've beaten a billion swimmers to get to the finish line by being born. So I think there's a reason we're all here. I think there's a reason people are watching this right now. And if you are watching this right now, I'd love to see, what are you grateful for? Just pop into the chat. What are you grateful for? It'd be great to hear from you. Now, Alfred, we can't finish this interview without a song, really, or it just won't
Okay.
be
Well,
quite
I'll
the
sing a
same.
song
So
about myself.
that'd be wonderful. We'd love to hear a song.
Okay. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune, and no one will suspect I'm afraid.
Oh,
It
I
goes on.
love it. That's so good. I love it, Alfred.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. And Alfred's just been confirmed to perform at the Animal Action Night for Dogs we've got on this Saturday night. We're doing an online event, and Alfred's going to be singing some songs. We've actually got 14 performers for the 14th annual Animal Action Night, performers and speakers. Got a phenomenal lineup. We've got Bobby Running Fox, we've got Alana Fitzgerald, we've got Susie J and Joey Ace, we have Adrian Hang, we have Elena Massey's going to be speaking. We're raising funds for Southeast Queensland Canine Rescue, which is to help save dogs from death row in Southeast Queensland. And actually, these dogs actually come from all over Australia and are rescued. You know, did you know that in pounds, that in the council pounds, if a dog is not collected within 2 days to 7 days, that they put the dog down? Did you know that? So what this charity does, Southeast Queensland Canine Rescue, is they rescue these dogs so they don't die, and they rehome them and they foster them. And they've actually rescued 1,800 dogs in the last 4 years. And now they want to create an adoption centre, and that's part of what the funds are going towards this Saturday night. A phenomenal lineup of people who are coming along to perform. So thank you so much. We've got an acknowledgement to country as well by a guy called Glenn. We've got all details will be up online. Nanny Carolina Chasen's going to perform. She's singing from LA. We've got Helen G from Disco Disciples. It's going to be an awesome event, 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. Queensland time Saturday night, or 8 p.m. till midnight Australian Eastern Standard Time. It will be streamed live into the Animal Action Events Facebook page and also into Media Queen TV on YouTube. So thank you so much, Alfred, for coming along to perform.
I'll invite my son works for Humane Society International in New York,
Yes,
in Washington, D.C. So I'll ask him to tune in also.
that would be wonderful. All you need to do is just hop on the Animal Action Events Facebook page, like the page, and you'll see the live stream come through there. And then he can comment and he can ask questions through the stream as well. And so it's a free event completely, and we'll have a crowdfunding campaign going alongside it, which we're going to launch on the night. And that will go for the next month or so. We'll be raising funds for Southeast Queensland Canine Rescue. So 14th annual event, all about raising awareness, appreciation, and respect for animals. So, Alfred, so great chatting with you. I can't believe it's nearly an hour we've been chatting already. I could keep chatting with you.
It just went like that, didn't it? Yeah, well, thank you very much. Well, I hope to be around in another 4 years. We can follow up with something.
Absolutely. And what does the future hold for you now, Alfred? What are some of your goals currently?
Well, the other thing, well, I've got a number of things I need to finish off, like the book. There are different ways of doing the book. I'm collaborating with people so that we have collaborating chapters, and doing ebooks. Ebooks are so simple to do. I think everyone should do an ebook, because you don't have to worry about finishing it, and you don't have to worry about publication and all the rest of it. And you can do so many things with it, video, blogs, whatever. So that's the ebook. I want to work on breastfeeding still. The message in breastfeeding, it's the stories of common women who breastfeed get the most attention on YouTube, not the big agencies. And we have to make a lot. I presented that at a conference about a year or so ago about the use of local women, and a woman who just says how many times a day you breastfeed, 60 million views. And that's all she was doing. It's amazing how, and I think that's where the stories are important, because if you could connect with someone who's in the same situation and does something about that, you can relate to that situation. And I think that's why those stories become so important. So I'm pushing a lot of things, but I don't have to finish them. That's the important thing. So long as I get to a certain stage that I feel that someone else is connected and doing something about it, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And mouse traps is another thing that you've spoken
Oh,
of very
that's right, the
vocally
glue
about.
traps. Yeah,
The glue
yeah,
traps.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
true.
so
Yeah,
they're actually very cruel, aren't they, glue traps? We need to let people know that they're very, very cruel. They kill all sorts of animals, these glue traps. Do you
that's
want to say a
right.
bit more
I've
about
got
that?
I've got a video, Mouse in the House, Parliament, the steps of Parliament House. My point is that the issue of glue traps reflects society and the humans not caring. Unfortunately, it's not just the traps and the mice. It's just not caring because they can't see what they're doing, and it's completely cruel. And
Yes.
so I think that should be understood.
What sort of animals have been caught in mouse traps? I know geckos are often caught in these kind of things, and they
The
just
birds,
they
young
just get
birds, young
birds have been
birds
caught.
can be
Wow.
caught. Yeah, and even there's a video with a kitten being caught, small kitten. And
Wow.
once they're stuck on it, they can't get away, and they leave these things in places they don't go to. So if something happens, you can't rescue anyone, and they've got misery for the next because they can't get away from them. They can't do anything, and they
Mm.
tear at their limbs to get away. And the
Oh,
problem is that they are sold in these dollar shops and $2 shops, but hardly anyone's fined for it, although there are fines. And the second thing is they're sold in bulk on email and online. And that's the big
wow.
problem. You have to prevent that from happening. And in the UK, they had a petition, and I think it worked to some extent, but there's nothing going on, hardly anything going on in Australia or the US or elsewhere. So
Mm.
do something about that. Yeah.
So half the thing is raising awareness about this.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe. I had two cats at one point, and one of my cats died and was found, looked like it had been poisoned. It was very, in a contorted state when it was found, and I think it ate some snail pellets. So even snail pellets, they're poisonous
Of
for
course. Yeah.
pets. So, and I didn't put snail pellets out; the neighbours did, and I think my cat actually ate some snail pellets and died. And the other thing is with animals, it's interesting. Some animals we consider fantastic, and some are considered pests. Like I think about possums. Right, when I went to New Zealand, there was possum fur everywhere. They hate possums. Yet I've got these two possums that I feed here. I've got a mum and a baby, and they give me so much joy. I love these possums, and there's even a male possum. It's probably the dad comes down every so often. But
Mhm.
animals are just so beautiful. It's kind of like weeds and flowers. Some people see,
If you
flowers as weeds.
dream the impossible dream, you'll come to understand them too,
Yeah,
etc.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So I love possums, and so it's all perspective, and it's about getting informed so that you know moving forward that certain things you're doing could be harmful for our fellow beings, human or animal beings. I think it's treat others as you want to be treated. Treat others as you want to be treated. If you want respect, treat others with respect. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and together,
Well, there's a
individually and
connection
together.
between attitude to animals and attitude to the planet and the environment. There's a common
Yes.
connection. Unfortunately, it's an overflow.
Yes, there is. Well,
And
that's
we
true
have
because yeah, a lot of psychopaths, they start out, sociopaths, they start out being harmful to animals, and then it ends up being humans. So that's proven. And unfortunately, the legal system is so soft here in Australia, particularly, where people just get a slap on the wrist if they, affect animals. That the harshest penalty for animal cruelty in Queensland is 2 years imprisonment, and it's never
well,
been handed down.
right.
Never been handed down. People get a suspended jail term. They get a slap on the wrist, like the 16 and 19-year-old that stoned and killed two llamas in a school years ago, and they just got a slap on the wrist. It's disgusting. So I think bring the cane back personally. I remember when we were growing up, and we had the cane. People were scared of doing anything wrong. They were scared of the cane. Now there's none of that.
Yeah.
Now it's people get away with murder, literally. So, yes.
Well, I think the important thing is information. I think the important thing is to make people aware of what's happening.
Mm.
And then, Planet of the Apes. We should have Planet of the Mice or something. Have a role reversal.
Well, I used to love Land of the Giants. Land of the Giants, the TV series. I used to love that with all the little people in the series,
Oh,
and
really? Yeah.
all the little people.
Gulliver's
Imagine,
Travels. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
Gallagher's
think
Travels.
I think carry on with what you're doing. It's absolutely amazing. And the point is, act local, think global. Because if it works locally, it's going to spread. And it doesn't have to spread outwards on its own. You can have little islands all over the place spreading on their own. So you have to give that empowerment to each of these little islands, because it's not the followers that are important, it's the dedicated followers that are important, the people who get the message and spread the message themselves and get that empowerment because they feel good about what they're doing. They're feeling really human. Because human
Yes.
and humane, there should be a link. There should be a link.
The
And
ripple
we're all
effect.
animals, of course.
Yeah.
If we're cruel to animals, we're cruel to ourselves as well.
Yes, that's true. That's true. We don't go sniffing each other's bottoms like dogs do so openly, although I'm sure in private people do all sorts of funny things.
Well, who knows? Who knows what goes on in the bedroom?
Exactly. I'm sure it
But
all
it's
goes on with
private.
some of the.
It's private. So,
Yeah.
but you can graduate to a sergeant or a captain
Yeah.
if you do the right thing. Yeah. Okay.
They say it takes a lifetime to be an overnight success, Alfred. So, it's all about the journey
Well,
in
that's
life.
right. That's right. Well,
It's all about the journey in life. I saw a great TED talk last night, and it was called The Art of Being You. And it said that when we're born, we have a life sentence, and our life sentence is like that poem, The Dash. The dash between the time we're born and the time we die. We only have such a short period of time to make a difference in the world and to do what we love. And that's why I always say to people, do what you're passionate about, do what you love. Don't worry about the money. The money will come, right? Do what you love. That's the most important thing. Enjoy the
that's right.
journey. Look
That's
at how
good.
you can be of service. Come from love. What are some of your other winning principles before we wrap up here today, Alfred? What are
Well,
some
another
goals?
saying, there's 30 million seconds in a year, but it only takes a few to make a decision.
Yes.
We do have enough time to do things and say things and so forth. I think that's important. But no, I'm relearning. I think investing in yourself is so important because then you can invest in others. And it's how you invest. And it's really that whole connection, that good feeling that you get about yourself. And it's sad when people don't get that good feeling. So we should try and make as many people as possible get that good feeling about serving others, because the people we serve should serve others. And that's what
Yes.
spread, that whole
Yes.
area of connecting and giving.
Pay it
And
forward.
Christ said it's better to give than receive. And he was perfectly right, I suppose.
Pay it forward. Well, yin yang of life, I think we need to give and receive. So when it
That's
comes
right.
to singing, what do you recommend that people start doing in their life? Do you have a routine for your singing, or how would you recommend people
No,
bring that in?
basically we've just got some guiding principles, and then we'll learn as we go along. But the basis is to find out the favorite. For example, a 60-year-old, their favorite tune will probably be about 4 decades ago. So we'll get a database of the songs and the musicals and the things then. So they can search the database or they can get some idea. And once we've got that, then we can tweak the words to suit the person. And then we can have little rehearsals on Zoom, playing in front of our mirrors or in our baths or wherever we are going to be. And then we'll work things out. And if they feel like they want to do it, they can post on YouTube or they can post in Facebook, post anywhere they like, because it's their song and it's the way they're connecting with their loved ones. And then and other people will see it and they say, oh, this is interesting. Why don't we do the same? So they won't need me, of course. My point is you need to get to a certain tipping point to get others to continue the same. And that's
Mm,
the part of success. It's not how many followers I have. It's how many follow the followers, and so forth. It's the spread that's
mm,
important as well.
mm. The ripple effect. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
just thought,
anyway.
as you're sharing, I thought of the song When I'm 64. And,
Oh, when I'm 84.
yeah, when I get older, losing my hair many years from now, dun, 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 will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. So, even singing other songs that and I
Of
remember that
course.
from my childhood.
No, that's great. It's great.
I,
And you don't need the whole song.
no,
It's it's breaking that barrier, and letting people feel good, and then they continue. They can. You could just sing a line. You could hum something,
yes,
or
yes,
you can go from one song to the next.
yes.
And so there can be a conversation in song. I mean, there's been this. One of my favorite films was the Parapluie de Cherbourg, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, with the whole film was in song. It's an amazing film,
Wow, wow,
and it was a French film, amazing film. Anyway, my point is
fantastic.
that the song is the start. You don't have to be singing all the time. The song breaks the
Mm,
ice, and the song
yes.
is the connection, I think, or the music, or the hum, or however one. You might just blow your nose as a sign every time you blow and laugh and say, "My mind knows everything." Make it just a little joke.
I love it. Well, when I'm 84, Alfred, I hope that I have had such an amazing life
Oh,
like
well,
you, and
that's
I hope
great.
that I
Thank you.
still have
Well,
such
I
a
don't
zest
think
zest for life.
I won't be around. I'll be a square.
I love it. I love it. And how many
Yeah.
kids and grandkids have you got before we run off here, Alfred?
Oh, I've got two lovely kids in the States. One's worked with Humane Society. The other's my daughter, who swims, amazing swimmer actually, and we have a lot of fun together. That's the main thing. And I've got a son in India who's 60 and he runs a farm. And actually, he's doing something very interesting now. He's reviewing all the old architecture homes in India. No one's done that before.
Wow.
All these old homes that people forget about. And so he's working with some architects there. But he's an artist. He's a painter as well and drawer. So
Wonderful.
that's, and two grandkids, two of his kids, who are now in Melbourne. So,
Wow.
and then there's my wife Susan in the States. We were worked together overseas a lot. She was a nurse to me, and now she works in a travel agency. But she's
Amazing.
an amazing person too. So we keep together. We keep connected.
That's brilliant.
So
And
we
what are you
used to,
most, oh,
yeah.
sorry, what are you most proud of in your life? I was going to ask.
I think the tape is important because it took me about 6 years of half my degree at Harvard, my MPH. I was working on the tape actually, the design and
Ah,
everything. But my point was that, and once I recognized that it was being used, I said I could die tomorrow, and that would be fine. I wouldn't mind. So I think, you know, and the song stuff is fun. I think having fun is important. And if,
yes.
if you have fun, you're not. I mean, in a nice way. You're in a good state to accept other people and to communicate with other people. Because I mean, there's a saying in England, cricket is a game. In France, life is a game. Yeah, but I think that's the important thing. And I talk to myself. I talk to people who died, my loved ones. And talk to myself when I was small. Just bringing the past into the present, and
Mm,
getting ideas. I wake up at night with ideas. It's just extraordinary. Uh,
mm,
because I think when you get older, First of all, you can get away with almost anything because people say, oh, he's just old, and secondly, you're not restricted to deadlines. You're not restricted to a job or something that you're meant to do, which you have to follow all the time. Now your mind is freer. And the important thing is to use it. And to make the most of it, and then re-educate, because things change all the time. So that would be my advice. Stay young, stay young.
That's I love important. It. Thank you so much, Alfred. Any final words of wisdom you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I love you to bits. What you're doing, you're an amazing person. And it's great to be connected with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. You're absolute joy and pleasure. I'm so grateful for you and having you in my life. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been amazing talking with you. Where can people connect with you if they want to support your projects, Alfred?
Well, at the moment, I haven't finished my webpage, just azurfas@gmail.com. That's my, I am on Facebook with my name, but I plan to publicize things a lot more. And share with people, because I'm being a bit shy in that direction. Yeah.
Cool. Yes. Well, there's no time like the present, Alfred. So
that's
this could be the start of big things.
The now. There's only one important time, and that's now.
Exactly. Exactly. The power is in the present. Wonderful.
Bye, baby. Hit the road to dreamland. Don't be shy, baby. We gotta get going on our way. Hit the road.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. No, we want you to come back, Alfred. We want you to come back.
I will.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you so much for watching. We've been chatting with Alfred Zerfus, who's a retired public health doctor, has travelled all over the world and done some phenomenal things. At 84 years young, he is just getting started with what's possible for him for the future. They're amazing, inspiring man who has so much fun, and it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you, Alfred, and to know you over the years. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please share what you're grateful for and what you got out of this interview. Pop into the chat, share the love. If you like what you've seen, share this video, and share some more love in the world. That's what we need. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Remember to shine bright and light up all those around you. Please connect with me as well on Mass Media Tribe is our group on Facebook and Meetup. And if you follow me in Eventbrite as well, you will see also all our upcoming events. We've got a Mass Media Tribe event actually tomorrow night called I Believe in You. All about how to turn negatives into positives with Lizelle Hartley from Perth is coming to join us. So it's tomorrow night, 7 till 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Details are in the Mass Media Tribe group. And, of course, the Animal Action events, Animal Action Night for Dogs in Animal Action events page on Facebook. And you can join in the Global Good News Challenge. There are lots of great stuff on the horizon. You can be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi says. So here's to all of us doing a bit to make a difference. Any final words, Alfred?
Yeah. Be kind to your parents, or they don't deserve it. Remember, the grown-ups, a difficult stage of life. They're apt to be nervous and overexcited, but confused by the daily stress and strife. But keep in mind, though it sounds fine, I know, remember they were children long ago. Incredible, so treat them with patience and firm understanding, despite the foolish things they do. Someday you may wake up and find you're a parent too.
Oh, I love it. Oh, Alfred, you're an absolute gem. You are.
Yeah,
love
it's from Penny. Yeah, great. Nice meeting you, and thanks for the interview, my dear.
Thank you, Alfred. And you can hear more of Alfred singing at the Animal Action Night for Dogs on Saturday night. Connect on Animal Action events for that one, where the live stream will be happening absolutely free. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.